let's have some fun, shall we? Hello, my spiritual people, and welcome back for today's video. Today's video is a deck tag started by Sylvain's Deadly Sins. Again, this is just for fun. Basically, Sylvain has created a little prompt list for decks based off of these 7 deadly sins. And the point of the video is to choose decks that suit that prompt or sin for you and then explain why. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first deadly sin is pride, probably one of my least favorite prompts. This is supposed to be a deck that you use or purchase for flexing, which flexing is basically showing off, right? I like to think that I don't really conduct my life like that, but I did purchase this deck on a whim at a bookstore because I wanted to leave with something and I kept seeing that everybody had this deck. So I ended up getting it for myself. It is a little glary, so I do apologize, but this is the Modern Witch Tarot. And it's basically, you know, a Rider-Waite-Smith clone deck. The colors are super vibrant, although you can't really tell because I have it so washed out because it's dark in here. But yeah, this is, I don't know. I do enjoy this deck and I do use it and I don't regret my purchase at all. But I guess if I really had to choose a deck that I bought just because, you know, I thought the cool kids had it, this would be that deck. So that is the Modern Witch Tarot. The next deadly sin is greed. And this is supposed to be a deck that you just use for yourself. Like you don't use for anybody else. And for me, that is the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. So this is the Nicoletta Ciccoli Tarot. She is a very specific tarot deck. I use her just solely for myself. I would definitely not use this in any client readings. It's a very personal deck. She speaks directly to me. Like the voice of whoever works through this deck is just very vocal and right on point. And I don't know, I feel like she doesn't want me to share it with anybody else. It's one of the only decks I keep in its box. I have a lot of my decks out on display and stuff. So yeah, this is my deck that I'm greedy about and I only use for myself. Wrath is the next deadly sin, and this is a deck that you're angry at. And I'm not really angry. I'd say I'm more disappointed, but this is the Outdoors Oracle. Now, this is an indie deck. I found it randomly on Etsy when I was looking for a deck for my fiance. He has his own copy of it that he uses all the time and loves, but I purchased one because I liked the images and things. But it just, we can't get along, man. We don't speak the same language. I feel like a lot of the cards end up being the same meaning, which drives me a little nuts. The card is read by the phrase on the bottom mixed with the meaning or category of the 2 symbols on the left and right. They're depicted as suits or whatever, and I just see, I love the images, and this is so Boy Scouts, National Forest pamphlet. I don't know, I feel like if you went to a national forest, this would be the design and the artwork and the color that would be on your pamphlet or whatever. And it's so cool. But yet, I feel like maybe it's just all the cards I pull, but I feel like every card means the same thing. I feel like the whole deck has 6 different meanings, and then everyone means the same thing. I don't think that this technically is like a bad deck. I don't even know if it's meant to be used for divination. It kind of seemed like on the website it was like specifically divination to use before you go outside. which is cool because we do a lot of like outdoor hiking and things, but I don't know. I'm mad because I wanted to love it and I like can't read it. But Chris, my fiance, who I bought it for, is just, he thinks it's the easiest thing in the world to read it. It's the only deck he owns and he loves it. So at least it worked for him. All right, the next deck is Envy, which is a deck you wanted just because other people had it. And for me, that is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. This deck I got a couple of years ago when I first started thinking about sharing like what this side of my life like online publicly, and I was like, everybody on Instagram had this deck. I don't know if it was new and had just come out. This deck, I mean, it's stunning. The images are nice. A lot of the messages that it has on there are nice. As I'm looking at this, I haven't used it in a while and I was kind of like out of love with it, and now I'm like, oh, I should definitely start using this again. But one of the things that turns me off of it, which really isn't like the deck creator's fault or anything, but I felt like between even me and my like client readings, every single one I did had like the same self-care cards come out, especially doing it for people multiple months in a row. It just seemed like all of the same cards kept coming up over and over again, which I know is like a good message, but because obviously we don't like just work on things once and then have it be better. We have to keep working on things. But so yeah, it was just one of those decks that I really got sold on because a bunch of other people had it, but I don't regret it. I just influenced. #influenced. So that is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. The next deadly sin is lust, which, I mean, isn't it the best one of all? Besides gluttony, maybe, but you know. Let me know down below what your two favorite are. So lust is a deck that you like purely for the aesthetic reasons, and this deck is the Star Child Tarot for me. I want to work with this deck so bad because I just can't get over how amazing the images are. Some of my favorite decks is like the Star Child, or this is like the Starseed Oracle, and Work Your Light Oracle. I think that's what it's called. And this is by the same artist, not the same writer, but the same artist. And I love the colors and the dreaminess and the otherworldly feel. And it's just everything I would have ever wanted. But this also almost made it into the wrath category because me and her, we don't understand each other yet. We don't... she doesn't talk to me. I just can't understand what she's trying to say. And maybe that's a gap in my own learning that I just need to fill in, but I don't know. So yeah, a deck that I love, lust. Definitely lusted after this deck. A deck that I love for the aesthetic reasons. Like, can I just have this on my wall, like be the whole wall? It's just so pretty. Okay, so that is the Star Child Tarot. The next deadly sin is Gluttony, which is a deck you purchased that you didn't need. And I feel like everyone says the same thing with that. I'm going to say, isn't that most of them? Like, we don't really need a bunch of decks, but we love them and they make us happy. So there's that. But I chose this deck. This is the Elemental Tarot by Taroteca Studios. I think that's how you say it. I got this deck purely because I was on their website buying another deck, and it was international shipping, so I was like, look, if I'm gonna pay, you know, the $40 or whatever it takes to ship a deck over here, I'm gonna get more than one. I was really on the fence about this one. I was like, I don't need it. It's like you know, just an extra just to make me feel like the shipping was more worth it. And I absolutely love this deck. This is like top 3 of all time. I just adore the imagery in this deck. I love that it's like a very like story series vibes, like a Netflix series vibe of like each of the suits are kind of like different realms. Like the wands are very tribal, the swords are very like the like medieval with like, you know, dark castles and stuff like that. But then you have like you have your Atlantis vibes with all the mermaids for the cups. Here's the swords. Where's the pentacles? Here we go. It's like this like castle medieval times, like fair, like the working class. Same vibes with like this empress here. And I don't know, it just speaks to me. I love that it feels like I'm looking into like a glimpse of another character's life. And just like viewing the stories through that lens, and I can like picture them in my head better. It's just, it's such a fun deck. So that is the Elemental Tarot. Plus this 4 of Swords, I mean, does this Romeo and Juliet, Sleeping Beauty, anyone like? So that's the Elemental Tarot by Taroteka Studios. And then last but not least, we have Sloth, which is probably one that I'm guilty of most days. And Sloth is supposed to be a deck you use when you feel lazy. And I feel like I could have picked like 40% of my decks for this. Lots and lots of my Oracle decks are definitely ones that I reach for when I'm lazy. And then of course there's like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, which I reach for when I'm lazy. But the one that I have been reaching for the most lately, I will include it here, is the Queen of the Moon Oracle. And funny enough, my favorite card of all time from this deck is right here on the back. Self-reflection. It's just like how like the powerhouse version of me that lives inside of me looks. I don't know if that sounds absolutely insane or not, but yeah, like mermaid, red hair vibes. Yeah. So this deck, I love the imagery on it. It has words that's like super easy to understand. The guidebook's pretty short and sweet in terms of like what it means. And I can pull, you know, like 5 of these real quick. They'll all fall out just kind of like they did there for a second. And I know exactly what it's trying to say. Really good clarifier for readings. Words. Do we have words? No words. Okay. So yeah, really, really enjoy this deck. This is another one of my favorite cards. Just stunning. That is the Queen of the Moon Oracle. I also forgot to mention the Elemental Tarot deck is an indie deck. So all the other ones are mass market. I'll leave all the ones I can find linked below. Last time I went to link this deck, the Outdoors Oracle, I think they were sold out. I don't know if they'll get any more, but yeah, I will leave them all linked below. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you guys enjoyed this really laid back and fun deck tag, I will leave the channel of the original creator of this tag linked below in case you would like to check them out. There's lots of fun responses to watch too. If you're watching this video and you've done your own video, I'd love to check it out, so leave it in the comments below. Or if you just want to participate by writing in the comments, I would love to go ahead and check out the decks that you would pick for these 7 deadly sins. Alright guys, with all that being said, I'll catch you next time. Take care.